Cool. Hello, welcome everybody. It's a little Monday night Coliseum action here on Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. My name is TheSchwantz27, and I am joined along in the booth by...
Fantastodon, and I am happy to be here. Very excited to watch this race. This, I think, the first official stream of the Coliseum II tournament. And very excited to be here. We have two very talented competitors, two, I think, fairly new members of the Final Fantasy Worlds Collide community, at least by my, old head standards. We have I Am Gaahr and oneFreeFitz. And Schwantz, what do we have looking forward to us in this race?
Yeah, so let's do some fancy schmancy broadcasting. There we go. We're doing Shadow's Ninja Star flag set. So this is a spin off of the standard flags that we've been playing with Ultros League, with a few twists in here. And the seed is themed after the character Shadow himself. So we will be having him in our starting party with throw to start. So that's a very powerful command, at least to start off with. If we win a Coliseum match, we do get the auto image status for our entire party for the duration of the game, which is awesome because all of the fights will start off where defensive stat or offensive, rather, physical attacks will always miss at least once. We also start with +5 strength and +5 speed in line with Shadow's Ninja Star, and there is a special objective. If we let Sid kick the bucket, we get a high tier item. So sorry, Sid, it looks like you're going to be getting the thumbs down here at the Gladiator Coliseum. So what about the rest of the options here, Fantastodon?
Well, what do we else have looking at us? One of the core tenets of Shadow is, as we all know, he would slit his mama's throat for a nickel. The only way to get gold in this seed, in this flag set, is to kill enemies. Everything sells for 0. So you start off with a pretty decent nest egg of 50,000 GP, but after that, once you spend all that, the only way to get money is by killing enemies. Also on theme with Shadow's assassin background, we have the always popular YNPC remove flag on. So we can make any NPC we want go poof. That also opens up a few sort of logic breaks for us, a few skips. Some notable ones would be the Magitech Factory, Locke's Ruined Narsh checks, Mount Zozo Cyan's check. We can all poof the invisible NPCs blocking our way and check those out anytime. Though there are no free checks. So it's going to be a little harder for our runners. They're going to have to earn their characters and their espers. And then a tricky one, something that's hard to kind of quantify, and something that I think every runner finds their own way to build around, is the party split XP. So one strategy can be to run with a party of 3. Just ignore a 4th member entirely and buff up 3 party members, or run with all 4 and just deal with slightly lower levels. I think it's sort of a personal preference, or whatever strategy you're more comfortable with. I don't know what's better than the other, but perhaps we'll see in this race this evening.
Yeah, we'll certainly talk about that more as it comes into play as we start this particular seed here. So those are the options. These are our runners. So on the left-hand side, in the black with the... it's sort of like a fuchsia font, that's Gaahr. And on the right-hand side, supporting the fabulous, vivacious violet shrubbery, that's oneFreeFitz there. So we start with Shadow, as we see on the tracker. We do have to get to 6 characters and 9 espers. To get the skip, we do have to defeat 12 bosses, and I will be keeping track of the number of bosses that these players kill. Unfortunately, they won't be on the screen, but we'll remind you of them as this race goes along here. So one of the few interesting things as I am getting our runners ready to start is that with YNPC remove, you can actually yeet the star, which is the 3rd boss, or technically the 4th boss third part of the floating continent, which we have access to with Shadow. So it does allow you to get past that check for free, but in this flag set, since you got to defeat bosses for a skip, I don't know how many times we'll be seeing that, Fantastodon.
I agree, and it looks like we are off here in this Coliseum II Round 1 match between gaahr and oneFreeFitz, as we see Shadow, Gao, and Cyan. We have Capture GP Rain from Gao. GP Rain has its uses. Capture doesn't have a whole lot of uses. Fight
No.
Cyan. So much for using YNPC remove. I guess you could still use it on the Mount Zozo door. But an interesting party to start as we see both of our runners heading into Narshe to do some early looting. I think it makes sense with the very fat wallet that we have at the start of this game with 50,000 gold to head into a town and see what shops may have to offer. oneFreeFitz finding another 13 grand in a chest. That's a very welcome find.
Yeah, we're rich right off the bat. Interestingly enough, neither one of these runners deciding to go for World of Ruin Narshe. Now, as you mentioned before, there is sequence breaking in this flag set with YNPC set to remove as we find some elemental skeins in our first shop, which will be nice for our natural throw Shadow. In the World of Ruin Narshe, we could actually have access with YNPC remove to Locke's Narshe weapon shop check, plus the Cursed Shield, and we could loot all of these treasures at once. So, very bit of a curious finding to go for World of Balance Narshe, but I guess they're looking for shops here early, Fantastodon, because if you go to World of Ruin Narshe, there's nobody in the town to sell you anything.
No one's left to sell you anything. But yeah, as you mentioned, Fire Skeins in the first door is a great find, because of course with Shadow, we start with the throw command. So an excellent early pickup. I expect both of our runners to probably continue the sort of standard looting pattern of Returner's Hideout, South Figaro, and of course I'm immediately eating my words because they're both heading to Gao's Manor for Shadow's free check.
Yep.
Another chance at a shop.
Yeah, that is an Aura Lance, and as you mentioned earlier, Fantastodon, no free characters or espers, so since this is a check without a forced battle, it's considered free, and that means we'll get a high-tier item instead. Aura Lance is the best lance in a game, so if we find a pair of boots and horn, or maybe a natural jumper, that'll be really good. But I'm expecting to see checking a lot of shops with a Gao start for that dried meat. Fantastodon, gaahr is heading into...
and look at this shop on the airship.
Yeah, that's a nice one, too.
We've got bags, we've got meat, we've got 2 kinds of skeins. Everything a Shadow Gao party could want.
There you go. So gaahr is our first runner with that dried meat to go do that Velt check for Gao. I love starting with Gao because he's got that... It's not considered a free check, the Velt, because you do have to fight an enemy. And it's guaranteed character or an Esper, so that's a great one to start with. But you just have to find that dried meat. So we'll probably see gaahr head there soon. oneFreeFitz is still going to be looking for that dried meat. So let's talk about this reward here. Atma Weapon or Economizer. It looks like gaahr is choosing to play the long game here with the Atma Weapon.
Snatching that Atma Weapon. Love the Atma Weapon. One of the few weapons in the game that pairs beautifully with the Offering Relic. And one of the ways you can build an endgame character. So for sure going to snatch that up. Cursed Shield only has 5 battles necessary to unlock it into the Paladin Shield. By far the best defensive item in the game, so I imagine we'll see that being equipped on someone once we start getting into some battles here.
Yeah, 5 is definitely a very low number. I've been finding that even with double digits, it's still worth it if you could find like a good place to grind, because the Paladin Shield is just that good. It will absorb, or at least, you know, deal you no damage from every elemental thing in the game. It absorbs some elements. I think it's 4 and 4. That's how the split goes, and it looks like gaahr already has a ribbon, which will cancel out a lot of the negative effects of that Cursed Shield. Ribbon also for sale there in that shop for oneFreeFitz, and we'll see what our early reward is here at the Velt.
Getting our first check, yes indeed, it is a ghost, so not a character. Still sticking with a party of 3. Gaahr gonna grab that dried meat and see what we find as Fitz continues to work through South Figaro. Continuing to do a little shopping with the very large stack of money that we started with. Does, in fact, find dried meat.
Yeah, so magic power +2 on that Esper plus Flare, which is a spell that
Oh
will be
my.
useful in a pinch because it's non-elemental and it ignores magic defense, but getting a magic power +2 Esper at the very beginning of the game is super lucrative because you could really pump that
So
magic
powerful.
value up. And smartly heading into the Serpent Trench, where there are at least 3 forced encounters, and you can get up to 5 depending upon which sections you go in here. So Gaahr will almost be done uncursing that shield after the Serpent Trench run.
Yeah, as we see a sort of difference in philosophy right off the bat, Gaahr sort of doing minimal looting, diving right into checks, finding very free battles. I think this is one of those fights that actually beats itself. You don't even have to do anything. Fitz, meanwhile, is kind of doing the more traditional start of Narsh Returner's Hideout, South Figaro, trying to get some gear early on, see how to outfit his party.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the split XP option in this flag set. You know, Shadow, known for being a bit of a lone wolf, doesn't like to have a lot of friends, so the designers of the flag set thought that split XP would be appropriate for a sort of a Shadow flag set. And what that means is that experience is split amongst all of the living members of your party. So in normal Worlds Collide standard races, our XP multiplier is ×3, and that applies to all of your characters. But in this flag set, it's actually higher at ×8, but when you're splitting it amongst the characters that are still alive, you actually get less than 3. If you have 3 characters, that means it's 8 divided by 3, or 2.6 repeating for all of your characters. If you have 4 in your party, then it's really like EXP ×2. And if you have 2 members in your party, then it's EXP ×4, right? So runners are going to have to find their sweet spot. 2 is not really ideal. Oh, as that's the bad thing that comes with the curse shield.
This is not a free fight that Gaahr has run into.
Yeah.
It does have the bolt edges to deal with these machines. We did see them take it out before. Takes them out again. Cyan. Well, this is actually a perfect example of your point, because Cyan was down. Gao and Shadow earned quite a bit more XP than they otherwise would.
Yeah, so that 875 experience or whatever it is divided amongst 2 party members versus amongst 3 party members. So they're actually getting higher levels as we speak here. And maybe Gaahr decides, hey, Cyan is pretty useless with his other command. I think you said it was like control or something, right?
It was steal.
Steal. So maybe he's hoping to find another character here. It's not. This is going to be his second Magicite. But maybe he's hoping, you know what? I don't really need Cyan right now. Let's bump up my XP on the other characters. And characters still join at party average, right? So you'll at least have a character that's not going to join at level 3. They'll join at a little bit higher. So maybe that's the route that he's choosing to take. oneFreeFitz, meanwhile, getting an Atma weapon in a box there at the World of Ruin, South Figaro. So each of our runners has an Atma weapon, but one of them stole it from the merchant and the other one stole it from a box.
Yes, indeed. Our runners taking fairly different paths, but I think fortunately for them and for us, the viewers, are finding very similar things in the shops. oneFreeFitz found a bolt edge vendor, found some sleeping bags. Gaar's also found sleeping bags. There are water edges for Fitz as well. So all of the early game elemental attacks for the throw command are online, as we see Gaahr, the first one to head into the Coliseum, the namesake of this tournament. Be interesting to see what. Not exciting.
Not a lot, but you know what? The auto image status is certainly worth it to get for your party, even if there's nothing to find in the Coliseum. So interestingly enough, in the Coliseum, and this will come up many times in the first round, the Coliseum AI never uses the throw command. So Shadow here will be either using magic or fight the entire time. So in the Coliseum flags, right, you want to make sure that you have somebody in your party that could deal some decent physical damage or has some decent magical attacks. Because this fight is going to take a very long time, and Gaahr realizes that and resets out here.
Gaahr says no thank you. Actually, that's one thing to point out on Fitz's screen. Did find a wing edge in the South Figaro basement. I have found the wing edge to be a fantastic Coliseum weapon early on. So we'll see if he makes use of that. If he heads to the Coliseum in a timely manner, as it looks like our runners are in fact going to retrace each other's footsteps for a bit. Gaahr doing the South Figaro loop, and Fitz is in Ruined Narsh, going to find a second Atma weapon.
Interestingly,
Still better
decides
than
to
an
take
economizer.
it. Yeah. I mean, economizer will sell for a lot. Oh no, it won't in this flag set. Never mind. Absolutely right. Okay, good call, Fantasthon. Yes. So, what what Fitz is doing, taking off the Moogle Charm and doing some grind fights here. There is a bucket outside of the beginner's house that you could certainly step on to heal your party. So that's what he's doing here. And you know, Boo mentioning in the chat that this early you'll take an economizer. We don't know what sort of magic we have yet in the seed. We did see that Gaahr did grab an Esper with Flare. Did you happen to see what was on the Starlit Esper, the second one that he got, or no?
Well, Shadow knows the sleep spell, as we saw him cast that repeatedly in the Coliseum.
Yep. He also knows Flare, too. It's just unfortunate that Coliseum AI going to do what it does, you know?
Yes, indeed. I think we have all learned a lot about the Coliseum AI in this Coliseum tournament already.
Yeah, it never does.
So I did not know that about the throw command that you mentioned. That is very helpful info.
Yeah, I found that out when we were commentating another race, and I was asking people smarter than me in the chat. So the Coliseum AI will never use throw. I'm guessing it's because the Coliseum AI doesn't want to throw away something that you wanted to use, sort of thing. I guess that's what the developers intended.
That seems fair.
Wow, I didn't know that you could warp... actually, yeah, I knew that you could warp out of World of Ruin Narsh. I just never do it from from the shed. I always do it from up the mountain higher. But
Fitz is optimizing his route. He came to play.
Yeah, well, you know, we did do a little Coliseum pick'em for all of the races here. And in this particular pick'em, Gaahr, I think, is the heavy favorite. With oneFreeFitz only getting one soul vote, and oh, there's an EXP egg there.
Oh my.
For a Fire Knuckle.
That is huge. That is a very easy fight, very winnable fight for Fitz, and I believe that is something that he found in his wider sort of looting loop early on. So that could be something he gets that Gaahr doesn't find.
Nice.
Meanwhile, though, to be fair, Gaahr seems to be heading right back to the Coliseum.
Yeah, it just depends on...
He reset, so he still needs a fight in the Coliseum as well.
Yeah, so he did not win that first battle. We'll see if he collected that Fire Knuckle along the way. It doesn't look like he's got it, though, unless it's towards the end. Yeah, so that's huge for Fitz to use the Coliseum there to get the auto image status, and it looks like we got a Velt play here from Fitz, which means he's found some meat. And
looks like he's going to the cave on the Veld, or maybe he's going to do both. But yes, he did find meat in South Figaro.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's auto image there for Gaahr. He's got his Coliseum match won. But yeah, as I was mentioning before, there's only one vote for Fitz in our Pick'em tournament, and that was from the man, the myth, the legend, oneFreeFitz himself. So gotta always bet on yourself, folks.
Absolutely, I got to respect that. Obviously, a newer member of the Worlds Collide community, but I know Fitz is very active in the Chrono Trigger Jets of Time randomizer, so is very familiar with how randos and rando races work. It'd be interesting to see, you know, how far both these runners have come here in the Coliseum II round 1, as it looks like Gaahr is heading straight to Cyan's Dream.
Yep, this is a 3-part check. As I knocked over my water, thank God it wasn't onto my laptop. It's a 3-part check, but only 2 bosses though in this, so it's an interesting choice here. The first and third rewards can only be Esper item, and the second one is guaranteed progression. So we'll see what comes out of the dream here. As I'm going to go clean this up, so I'll be back in just a second.
Take your time. Just want to point out we did get a nice look at that Odin Esper on Fitz's screen. It is sleep. That's where the sleep spell is. Also flare. Also magic power +2. As we've mentioned, such a powerful stat bonus to find early on as we get our first sighting of our boy Ultros. Ultros, one of my favorite characters in FF6. Of course, the mascot of the currently on hiatus, but will come back soon, Ultros League. And not much of a threat, but happy to see him as Fitz finds a monster in a box that is also not much of a threat. That would be Lobo. He will earn a potion for this, I believe.
Yeah, not a lot of XP.
No, experience.
Yeah, you do get some experience. It's not a lot, but Fitz has also not fought a lot of battles. Remember, he has not gone through the Serpent Trench like Gaahr has. Gaahr finding the Golem Esper as number 3 there in Cyan's Dream. That's a pretty important one. And hey, it's a flying Moogle.
It's a Moogle. It's a character and a Golem Esper. This is a very lucrative Cyan's Dream already, provided the Gaahr can make through the boss battle at the end, as Fitz finds Sabin in the Cave on the Veldt, a very popular character, a character that opens up a whole lot of the world for you. So we may be finding, each runner finding their 4th character very shortly, and different characters at that, which I always like to see as a fan of divergence in Worlds Collide.
Oh no. This is not a fun fight at these low levels, the tentacles here on...
Tentacles is not a fun fight at low levels, not a fun fight when you have fewer than 4 characters. The auto image will be fantastic in this fight. Oh yeah,
that's true. I forgot about that.
But this is going to be sort of a damage race, I think. If Fitz can down enough of these tentacles before they start working through the image status and seizing him.
Yeah, so that seize ability is a physical attack, so that's why you'll see it miss on image. The image status is broken, however, on Gao. But Fitz deciding to use his fire rod there. That's the appropriate time to use a rod on this particular battle. He's got 3 of the tentacles down, so this is definitely doable.
Absolutely. This is very, very smooth operation from Fitz right here. Didn't really panic. Used the resources he wanted to use. It's going to throw a Blizzard Sword at the last tentacle, and is going to get this done pretty handily. So that could have been a very scary battle. Of course, we do see Gao is grabbed at the moment, but oh, poor Gao.
Yeah, that's why this fight is so dangerous. That's why this fight is so dangerous. Is the static 60 to 70 per tick that happens when you get grabbed.
Meanwhile, we have Doom.
Oh god. Oh god. Double oh god. 2 out of his 3 party members frozen too. This is gonna take a little bit. Yeah,
well,
so
this is this classic Shadow on Gaar's screen. The ninja's gonna go it alone. He doesn't need friends. Or does he? We'll see. We'll see how Gaahr handles this battle. Meanwhile, Fitz adding Sabin to the team. Very happy to have a 4th member of the party. Though again, with split XP, it'd be interesting to see how active that 4th party slot will be.
Yeah,
it looks like Fitz is going to run with 4.
I'm sorry, I was going to say I didn't get to see exactly what Sabin's ability was, but Gao is still dead, so he might be running with Shadow, Gao, Cyan for the rest of the seed. We'll see what happens here. But on the other side, Gaahr knows that Mog is here and does have that Aura Lance from that free check, so naturally equipped by Mog, which is great. If he finds, some Dragoon Boots, which we do find there from Fitz in the world of Ruin Thamasa, that could go a long way.
Screen. Meanwhile, Gaahr is into the second half of the Doom fight, which is actually great news because Demon Rage, Doom's very, very scary physical attack, is in fact a physical attack. Gaahr still has the image status up and is, I think, going to cruise through the rest of this statue fight without too much issue.
Yeah, I don't know if Gao is going to make it because he got snowballed, so he might be death by snowball here. Because his health is ticking down a little bit. Meanwhile, we got word in the chat, thank you BlitzBen0, that Sabin has health. So you never know if you're going to find any cure spells in this seed. So having health on at least one character is pretty nice, although Sabin's magic stat is usually not that great. So we'll see how useful that'll actually be.
Yeah, not known for his magical acumen. I think it'll be very interesting to see, for Fitz in particular, because he has two of them, who can equip those Atma weapons. As we see, Cyan can. Cyan cannot natively equip them, so a good check there in terms of sort of, building your party for the future. As Gaahr is through Doom, gets Mog the Moogle, who has Vanilla Dance, that's fun, and instantly dumps Cyan. So it looks like Gaar's going to go with a party of 3 and maybe following the line that you pointed out, Schwantz, of I have a Mog, I have an Aura Lance. Let's see if I can build a Dragoon.
Yeah, I mean, Dance also could be good depending upon what the Dance abilities are, and that is another Magicite there at the end of the Dream Phoenix. So Dream having 3 rewards in it is pretty good, and I just realized I haven't been counting bosses, so I will have to go back and fill that out as Fitz is heading into Doma Siege here.
Yeah, one thing to point out, Fitz does have a significant advantage in the Experience Egg, which makes the split XP flag much less painful. Does not have a ribbon for that Cursed Shield wearing Cyan, though, so he's just going to have a muddled Berserk Loon on screen, taking on a not free boss in Toilet Atma.
Yeah, this one might be tough, because Atma is one of the endgame bosses. Thankfully, he's scaled to only our progression times 2.5, but this is not going to be fun. Oh!
Yikes, with no elemental protection, no fire protection at least. That is very brutal. Suddenly, Fitz is on the ropes in this Atma fight. We'll see if he can pull it back, as it looks like Gaahr is heading over to Mount Zozo in the World of Ruin.
Yeah, so
Shadow doing a ton of damage, by the way. We're only 22 minutes into this seed, and Shadow's doing 3k with those fire skeins. But yeah, no way to protect against Atma's magical onslaught, and that is annihilation for Fitz, and that is a reset.
Yeah, so as we were talking about the scaling being 2.5 times your progression, which in this case Fitz has 5 total pieces of progression, so his bosses are going to be level 12.5, so 13, 14, something like that. He is, in line with those levels of his characters, but Atma is also a very tough boss, right? So he's going to go right back at it again. That magic power +2 Esper is probably why we're seeing such huge totals from Shadow there. Fantastodon. Great to get that Esper early.
Absolutely. And as we see, Gaahr taking on a first dragon, the Ice Dragon. And as we see, Gao on Gaar's screen is tossing GP, that precious resource that you can only get from battles in this flag set. Of course, now that he's frozen, it's the Shadow Show again on Gaar's screen. He's been dealing with Northern Cross a lot already in this race. Fitz is back for round 2. Thinks he can take down Atma before Atma blows his party away. Sabin already down.
Yeah, well, now you know that Shadow has ice in his veins because he's the only one that doesn't get frozen. Unfortunately,
he is cold-blooded.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is going to be a tough go for both of these fights. Thankfully, Ice Dragon goes down with a couple of bolt edges because Gaahr did not find those fire skeins. Obviously, Ice Dragon is weak to that, but thankfully Fitz powers through. It seemed like he might have just needed one more turn with Shadow, and he couldn't get it, which is quite unfortunate.
Well, that is great to see, overcoming a very, very dangerous endgame boss, finding, just a cat hood for his troubles. Gaahr finding a duplicate Aura Lance from the Ice Dragon and a piece of Magicite atop Mount Zozo.
Yeah, so feels bad for a dead check, but it's not all terrible because remember, your scaling is based on your progression, not based on things like how many checks you've done or how many bosses you've killed, right? So even though it's a dead check, his party still got some levels, which is good, without increasing the scaling. Whereas Gaahr, meanwhile, going on Mount Zozo, both killed a dragon and got an Esper, so he just increased his progression by 5 levels in only 1 check. So something to watch out there for Fantastodon.
Yeah, absolutely. Curious, Schwantz, and maybe Chad as well, if you want to chime in. Are you surprised that neither of our runners have explored the floating continent yet?
Yeah, I am surprised. It's usually, if in my practice races that I've been doing, it's one of the first things that I've been doing, because there are those forced encounters before the first check that allow you to get levels. And then in this particular flag set, you need 12 bosses in order to get the Kefka Tower skip. And the floating continent offers 4 bosses in totality. 2 on the first leg, 1 on the second leg, and 1 on the third leg. Although that 1 on the third leg is optional with YNPC removed, as I mentioned earlier. So I would think that this is a pretty popular spot to go, especially coupled back-to-back with something like Magitech Factory, which is also a 3-part check that has 4 bosses. So if you do those 2 like areas of the game, you're already 8 out of 12 bosses for the skip.
That is true, and in fact, we do see Fitz taking on the Imperial Air Force and heading up to the floating continent. Gaahr taking on the Pugs, perhaps hoping for a lucky Minerva drop from one of the Pugs. I thought Gao had Capture. Was it Control? Was I mistaken? Because, of course, you can steal Minervas from them as well.
Yeah, so here's the problem with Capture and Pugs. Pugs have 100% evade, which means they can never be hit by a physical attack. And how Capture works is it does the attack first, and if the attack hits, then it will attempt to steal. But since Pugs have 100% evade, the attack will never hit, so therefore the steal will never take place. So you can't actually use Capture on Pugs, you can only use steal. Pretty in the weeds stuff there.
But you know, those are the fine margins that can win and lose races. As Gaahr looks to be heading up the cliffs of Narsh, gonna head up to the Tritok spot, I suppose. Perhaps gonna take on a second dragon. We shall see.
Yeah, so while we got a little bit of time here, let's thank our runners, Gaahr and oneFreeFitz. That's their link to follow them. We want to thank them for giving us a race this evening. And Fantastodon as well, thank you for hopping in here to relieve my sick voice for doing some commentary. And we do have a second dragon here. It is the red dragon. Thankfully, one of those Espers has Ice 3 on it. And uh-oh, what's on the right side here?
It is Mini Master. It is number 24. So not the scariest boss in the game, Magimaster, but should be a pretty manageable fight for Fitz, who seems to be keeping Sabin on the ground. So perhaps just has a body to drag around with a Moogle Charm equipped to it. As, oof, that kind of hurt on Gaar's screen. Taking a big hit from the red dragon. Worth pointing out, we've seen basically no elemental defense in this seed thus far. No elemental shields, no Minervas, red jackets, what have you. So our runners have been taking some hits.
Yeah.
Does get the dragon down. Fitz does get Mini Master down, gets the free mid-air heal, and takes on Funbaba.
Yeah, so even with elemental protection, when you take a ride on the Grand Train, that doesn't help all that much. So if we find a lore user, that'll be nice, because that means they'll have Grand Train learned by default, and that's a set of fixed dice for Gaahr.
Yes, indeed.
See if anybody can equip those.
Finding some pretty exciting offense, certainly. But again, yeah, no real defense to speak of, as we find another statue boss, and it's a spicy one.
Yeah, so if you got them, get your spicy chicken emotes out. I'm gonna go ahead and spam my stuff as well. So there we go. Now's the only time you could spam. I could allow it. I will allow it. Anyway, go ahead.
Poltergeist, aka the spicy chicken, very difficult statue boss is weak to poison, which Gaahr is well aware of, pulling out Bio and the non-elemental Flare spell to take care of Poltergeist. It also weak to the stop status. I'm pretty sure Gaahr has the stop spell, so might want to toss that in. Meanwhile, Fitz finding a 5th character. It is Celis, hanging out on the floating continent, and is going to dump Sabin's body to the side and add Celis to the party instead.
Yeah, I don't know if Celeste can naturally equip that Atma weapon or not. I think Terra and Locke can, or Edgar and Locke can, but certainly will be more of a help than Sabin is. So question from the chat, what is Worlds Collide? So it's essentially a open randomizer for Final Fantasy VI, or as people in North America would call it, Final Fantasy III, where the items you get in shops and chests are randomized, the characters that you acquire have random abilities, the bosses are shuffled from their original locations, the enemies are as well. The magic that gets taught on each of the espers is completely random, so it allows for you to have a new experience almost every single time you play. So if you're interested, ff6wc.com is our website that will give you a link to our Discord if you need help setting it up. And come on and hang out with us, especially if you love this game. It's a great way to add a lot of replay value to it.
Absolutely. As the chicken goes down on Gaar's screen, could not handle the onslaught of biomagic, flare magic, and skeins from Shadow. So that is Gaar's 2nd shadow boss, or statue boss, defeated. Here we are just past the half-hour mark, earns another Esper for his troubles, look like Raiden.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Gaahr went here without having Umaro, or without yet sort of finding Umaro. I tend to not go to the top of Narsh unless I have Umaro to sort of double up that check with the Yeti Cave. So that's an interesting play, but it does get him an Esper, as that was not a dead check. And he adds to his boss total. By the way, Gaahr has 3 bosses killed and Fitz has 4. Unless my math is wrong, and I don't think it is. So, 1, 2, yep.
No, so, sounds right.
So yeah, second part of the floating continent coming up here for oneFreeFitz at the vanilla Atma weapon spot. That reward can only be an Esper or an item. We'll see what it is, as Gaahr retracing oneFreeFitz's step and heading to the Doma Siege here.
Which we know to be Toilet Atma and the reward of a cat hood, which I believe Gao can natively equip. Or maybe he just can always equip it when I play these seeds. Meanwhile, Fitz running into the Stooges.
Very nice.
And is very smartly tossing another Blizzard sword, another Ice Elemental sword at the Curly, I believe, who is weak to ice. Want to take out that top Stooge first, of course.
Yeah, good game knowledge there, knowing that the Blizzard is a, ice elemental sword and will actually do double damage when you throw it, on top of the double damage it normally does. Larry can run away, but is also susceptible to instant death, so that's why we see the Odin cast coming out here. So, a lot of great game knowledge here by Fitz in this battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Very smart play. Meanwhile, Gaahr just sort of going for brute force against Atma. Does have that Ice 3 spell, courtesy of the Golem Esper, and it's doing over 7,000 damage in the hands of Shadow. And that is a very quick kill, as we have sync boss deaths on our screen here.
Yep, second Esper there for oneFreeFitz, getting Crusader, which is a great vanilla Esper, but in this one it only has the life spell. MP plus 40 is not bad for our magic casters. I assume that Fitz will eventually go through some of the checks that Gaahr did to get, like those Ice 3 spells and whatnot. We did get the Paladin Shield Uncursed from both of our runners, but in this flag set, you are unable to learn Ultima from either spells or from the Paladin Shield. So we'll just stick with it being the best shield, best piece of protective gear in the game.
It is a absurdly strong piece of defensive gear. Very happy to have it, even without Ultima, as it looks like Gaahr is unknowingly following Fitz's footsteps and is heading up to the floating continent, about to take on the Imperial Air Force battles.
Yeah, so Fitz will have an opportunity at the end of this path to remove the boss at the end of this, but since we do get bosses, 12 of them to be exact, for Skip, and he is halfway there already with 6, we'll see if he decides to take the boss or to YNPC remove it. Nope, he's going to square up against it, and it is Ultros number 3.
Ultros!
So yeah, we already saw Ultros 2, which is the Opera House one. That was the pincer attack, and now we got Ultros 3. So as far as, things go with regard to offenses here, we do see both of our runners using Shadow with Throw. oneFreeFitz is using Cyan with that Atma weapon, so he's got the experience egg on Cyan, so he's going to be very powerful towards the end of the seed for sure.
That could potentially be a monster Cyan by the end of the seed. I also saw... ooh, that's a pretty nice Esper Definer at the end there. Siren with Fire 3, Match Power +2. So it could be a very magically inclined endgame party here. Of course, Fitz does not have the Ice 3 from the Golem Esper, which was in Cyan's Dream, though it's quite likely that he will end up there at some point. Though for now, looks like he's heading to Tzen to check out the Thief and perhaps do a little bit of shopping. As Gaahr takes on Minimaster, the first of the 4 boss fights available at the floating continent.
Yeah, so
and finally some shurikens.
Yeah, very nice cheap throwables there. So even though oneFreeFitz has Sabin and Gaahr has Mog, our runners have been doing checks that have been available to both of them from the beginning, because they've been doing just Shadow and Cyan and Gao checks. So there's another Esper bought from the Tzen Thief, Alexander. So that's number 4 for oneFreeFitz. So we haven't seen which of the 2 paths has paid off yet, because we got Mog from Mount Zozo, and we got Sabin from the Velt Cave.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
we didn't. We got Mog. Where did we get Mog? It wasn't Mount Zozo. I'm
Mog
sorry.
is
That was
Cyan's Dream. Sabin
yes,
was the Cave on the Velt.
Yep.
Celis is Floating Continent. Gaahr will find her right after defeating Funbaba, which he should be able to do. Fitz, meanwhile, looks to be heading into the Magitech Factory, one of my favorite areas of the game. Has some banging music, has a whole lot of boss fights available, which is very important for this flag set, which, as we've mentioned several times, offers the KT skip. You can skip right to the end of Kefka's Tower if you have defeated at least 12 bosses.
Yeah, right now we have Gaahr at 5. This will be number 6. And we have oneFreeFitz with 7 bosses killed. So Fitz will be at 11 after the Magitech Factory. And the first 2 checks at the Magitech Factory can only be Esper or item. And the third one is some guaranteed progression. So we'll see what's over there. As Celeste's Morph, subbing out Gao immediately there. Oh, nice pickup from Fitz. Megalixir in the chest there. Very nice to have.
Always happy to find one of those.
Yeah, especially for the final Kefka fight to use on his opening attack. So this is still very close. Anybody's game. We got Gaahr with 5 characters, 6 Espers. Got Fitz with 5 characters, 4 Espers.
That's true, and neither of our runners have, as you mentioned just now, have sort of explored the checks from their newer characters. Gaahr has not gone up to World of Balance Narv to do Mog's check. Fitz has not done any of Sabin's 5 possible checks. Instead, we find Ultros again. Hey, my boy. Ultros 4, I believe.
Yeah,
which,
this is number 4.
Sadly does not reward any experience.
Yeah, this one's number 4 because there's room for Chupon to swoop in behind him. Question from the chat about Dr. DT, and maybe you might know the answer to this because I don't. Fantastodon. At the first part in the the floating continent, can you YNPC remove whatever's on the ground and not actually get it? That I don't know.
I have no idea. We were actually talking about this before the race started. I am very inexperienced with YNPC remove, so I'm sure there are some Worlds Collide scientists who have played around with it much more than I have. Hefe says yes.
Yeah, so I know.
Experience.
Yeah, so I know Franklin has created a document of sort of what YNPC remove does for everything. So I'm trying to find it. I can't find it right now, but we do have some sort of confirmation based on anecdotal evidence, and that's good enough for me. As we have oneFreeFitz with the Ramu Esper here at the first stop of the Magitech factory. So I think you'll still be able to activate Atma weapons. So I do know, and not from personal experience, but based on reading the document, that you could actually yeet Atma weapon here and go to the third part of the floating continent, but you don't get the reward for defeating the boss. Unlike you do in the third part of the floating continent, you could remove the star and you do get the reward. So you could actually just remove this boss and skip this reward altogether. However, that is not what Gaahr is doing.
No, Gaahr taking on the Stooges. Again, very conscious of that 12 boss skip requirement. Fitz, meanwhile, running into a delicious French vanilla flavor of Ifrit and Shiva here in Magitech 2. Does not have that Ice 3, which would make this oh so easy, but does have the defense ignoring Atma weapon, which gets the job done.
Very nice. And good heads up fight there, Ifrit and Shiva. That is your magic check, right? And speaking of which, Magic Site number 6 for oneFreeFitz. So all of a sudden we are tied for progression again for the next 20 seconds until Gaahr beats this boss.
Tied for the moment, and must be said, as you mentioned before, Fitz, oneFreeFitz perhaps the underdog in this particular race, but running a very strong race at the moment. I would say definitely has the better selection of characters, with Sabin instead of Mog opening up much more of the world. Crucially, does not have that Golem Esper, which was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But does have Siren instead with the Fire 3 Magic +2. Has Odin for Flare Magic +2.
Oh, Alexander's got Merton and Cure 3. I mean, we don't have...
Alexander's got a bunch of good stuff.
Yeah, we were talking about not having elemental protection before. So Merton is probably off the table. But Cure 3, like I said, sometimes you find seeds where Life 2 is your best cure spell. And that's always a fun one to use.
We've all been there.
All right, so strap in, folks, for some Mode 7 goodness. We're on the Minecraft ride. 3 forced encounters and 2 bosses. You do get a story heal in between the first and second boss, so don't bother using your sleeping bags at the save point. And we'll see what's at the end of the Magitech.
Yeah, another one of those checks with double bosses, which, again, is very important for that check. Very important for experience as well. As it seems like at this point we are 43 minutes in. Seems like both of our runners have found a 3-team party that they're happy with. 3-person team that they're going to run with for the rest of this seed, barring something exceptional.
Yeah, and it's mostly the same, you know, with these Shadow Ninja Star flag sets. We start off with Shadow with Throw, which is probably the best command to have. In most cases, there's Magitech, which is probably slightly better, but we don't have access to that in most of the flag sets here in the Coliseum. So Throw is definitely great because it's good both early, mid, and late game. And we got some nice spells on some of these Espers. Hey, we hit the quadfecta. We've hit all 4 Ultras.
We did it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we did the Ultras Gauntlet, all 4. My favorite, Ultras 1. Get a close up of that big smiling mug of his. Soak it in because he's gone already.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. And that's another Magicite there for Gaahr. That is his 8th. So he's at 5 and 8. Fitz will be at 5 and whatever this is here. It is an Imp sprite, so that's another Magicite Terato. Oh, this is not a fun fight, though.
The Chatternook, not a fun fight, not a particularly dangerous fight. Will take a whole lot of damage from Fire 3, but does soak up a bit of time. As you see, Fitz definitely committing to the 3-person team, instantly downing gaahr before he even has a chance of earning experience.
Gaahr almost forgetting to trigger Lone Wolf. He did like a double take as he was going back up the mountain. We've been there,
well,
Gaahr.
We've all been there before, too.
Yeah, so Chatternook in the vanilla game stays in the girl form for a lot longer than we'd like, so we've made a flag that's called More Demon to allow the demon form to come out. And Doggo with the winning kill there. You love to see it happen for Fitz.
Doggo with over 5,000 damage. Good boy.
That's amazing. So we do see, if we do end up finding Umaro, that's Strago hiding out there in the cave. So he'll be the reward at the Yeti cave if we ever find Umaro. Now we'll see the true test of the divergence of the seed, because Fitz has Sabin and is finally deciding to do some Sabin checks, and Gaahr is doing this Mog and Kefka at Narsh check here, I would assume. So we'll see.
It's very interesting to see what Gaahr finds up here in the cliffs of Narsh. This could be a real game changer. No character at Kefka at Narsh.
No
character at Lone Wolf either.
Yeah, so we also don't know what Fitz is going to have to fight yet until after he defeats this first attack. He's going to go for the Merchant instead of the Genji Shield, so this is either a high-tier item or an Esper, and hopefully it's better than a Genji Shield if it's a high-tier item. It's not. It is another great Esper, Fenrir, and that's going to put him in character go mode here, Fantastodon.
That is a great find for Gaahr. Fenrir, as you mentioned, obviously a great Esper. Just in terms of its summon, it is also the 9th Esper, the last one Gaahr needs. So Gaahr just needs to head to the Cave on the Veldt to find Sabin. I believe that is the only... Well, that's not the only path left to him, because he has Celis as well, so he could certainly do Opera House if he wanted to.
Yep, so the the Figaro Prisoner will not be a character, right? Because of the no free progression flag. It will be a high-tier item, so you're right. The only other way forward for Gaahr, other than going to the Veldt Cave, would be potentially the Opera House. So, as far as the Imperial Camp, this is 4 forced encounters and no boss. Remember, Fitz already has 10 bosses under his belt. So even though this might seem questionable because this is a longer check without a boss, he already has 10, so he doesn't need to fight that many more bosses in order to get that skip. And Gaahr is
true, and especially with that experience egg on Cyan, who is equipped with the Atma weapon, he's very happy to keep earning experience with this 3-member party. But meanwhile, Gaahr is making the right play, is heading into Cave on the Veldt, and is a boss fight away from adding a 6th character.
Yep, so I believe that Gaahr is at 8 bosses, although he might be at 9, because I'm not sure if I did the last one on the floating continent. Fitz is definitely at 10, because I see it on his tracker. So if Gaahr is actually at 8, this will make boss number 9, and he'll be ready to go into Kefka's Tower. So we'll see if he decides to send an overloaded party up the middle, then to fight the Guardian spot and the Poltergeist spot to get to his 12 bosses, and then skip out and overload the left and right party, or if he's got something else in mind. Meanwhile, yes, we are crazy, as the prompt asks. oneFreeFitz diving off here at Barren Falls, and we'll see what boss he fights here.
Flame Eater, another boss that would sure be unhappy if Fitz had Ice 3, but of course he does not. And is actually at a bit of a loss for options. Well, you're never at a loss for options when you have Throw. And he's got the Atma weapon, which ignores defense, also has the Flare spell. So not the most elegant way to take down Flame Eater, but
no.
oneFreeFitz will get it done without too much problem. Meanwhile, Gaahr is pulling out some game knowledge of the tentacles, knows that lower left is vulnerable to instant death.
Really nice to see there. And water will also do the trick against Flame Eater, so throwing those water edges will also do it. And that's our 6th character in go mode for Gaahr. And that is going to be another boss down for Fitz. And we'll see if he gets his 6th character or his 9th Esper, or, sorry, your princess is in another castle.
Never fun to sit through the Barren Falls cutscene, slowly drifting down the river, only to find a dead check at the end.
Yeah, it's the worst. So he's standing up. It's not a character. Kieran. All right, so Fitz has got to find his 6th character, and we've got a couple of more places to look, other than doing the second part of Cyan's Dream, which I think is kind of off the table now that he's one away, right?
Certainly not the check you want to make. He still has a few save and checks. Going to check out the Phantom Train, has Mount Colts, has Collapsing House.
Nope, that's not going to be a character, remember.
Oh, very good point. Has Mount Colts and Phantom Train.
Yeah, so if the character's not here, then Fitz is in trouble because it's in Dream number 2. Or in the Opera House, right? We still haven't seen what's in the Opera House.
Right.
Oh, there it is. Let's bring Edgar along. The Figure Bros have been reunited.
Yes, indeed. Figure Bros are going to sit on the bench for this one, but Fitz still very happy to find King Edgar. Can do some shopping from the ghost. It's always the 2nd ghost in the car. I learned that watching Worlds Collide. And he's probably going to pop a few of these with YNPC remove along the way.
Oh, yeah,
Meanwhile,
so satisfying.
Gaahr is more or less good to go. And at 51 minutes, 35 seconds or so, is heading right into Kefka's Tower. And is following the strat you suggested. Looks like he's going to overload Path 3 to unlock the KT skip the hard way.
Yeah, so oneFreeFitz at the end of the Phantom Train will actually be done with boss number 12. So he could actually skip ahead of Gaahr right to the statues, depending upon how long this boss fight takes. So this is still anybody's race, even though Gaahr is in the tower first. So this is really exciting.
Absolutely. As befits some of our gladiators here in the Coliseum II tournament, not giving an inch, fighting to the end. And as you mentioned, it's really difficult to tell who exactly is in the lead right now. Gaahr has to navigate the very lengthy final dungeon. Fitz, of course, has to make his way through the Phantom Train. He's going to pop a few chests on the way. Would love to find Katana Soul in this box. Would really supercharge his party. Instead finds a fat sack of experience in the shape of a Gigantos.
Yeah, this is also nice too, especially with auto image. Oh, that's not nice though.
Yeah, he hits a lot. He gets rid of that image pretty fast. A question for chat, maybe for you as well, Schwantz. What do you think are some of the best Coliseum rewards from this Coliseum tournament? Obviously, every character has their own unique reward. For my money, auto image has got to be up there. It is extremely useful.
Yeah, I love auto image, and it starts on every fight, and that includes all of the tiers of Final Kefka as well. So even if it gets broken on tier 1, let's say, you'll get it right back on tier 2. So definitely one that I like. I also like Edgar's Chainsaw. It gives you plus 10 to magic power, strength, stamina, and speed for everybody. That's a huge buff to all of your characters.
That is very true. Chat calling out, obviously, Umaro has the best reward with Auto Berserk.
I mean, it's certainly fun. Let's put it this way, it's the most fun to use. I don't know how effective it could be. When I did a couple of Umaro practice seeds, sure, I found like my Atma weapon users, and I'm like, yep, I don't care if they're berserked or not. They're just gonna swing at things. So I was happy to find I was happy to get the Berserk. And wham bam, thank you, ma'am. That is tunnel armor down.
Yeah, blink and you'll miss it. Meanwhile, gaaring into another boss that is very susceptible to both Fire 3 and non-elemental defense ignoring attacks. Gaahr has plenty of both, so should be able to take this down fairly easily.
Yeah, so Gaahr will have to fight this this Inferno spot, and then he's got to make his way all the way through the tower with both of his party members. oneFreeFitz, meanwhile, has unlocked the Kefka Tower skip and is in go mode. So we'll see if he decides to just go right to the statues or if he does some party trickery. Now, one thing to keep in mind, the difference between these two runners is that Fitz does not have dragons killed. So that actually makes Gaahr's enemies 5 levels higher than any of the ones that oneFreeFitz will be fighting against. Wow, he's got a ton of money.
Oh, and oh, by the way, I find some mega elixirs in the shop. I was noticing that actually while Fitz was on the minecart ride. He was getting like 30 grand per fight. So yes, quite wealthy, blowing it all on mega elixirs and throwables, and why not? Gaahr taking on another dragon, meanwhile, the Dirt Durgan.
Yeah, so he's going to get full XP and MP for this. But again, he's going to increase the levels of all of his enemies by 5. He's got a couple of pieces of gaahr gear on, though. That's not something you see every day.
No, you don't see 2 party members absorbing Quake, but
yeah.
Happy to see that. Of course, Hone Tusk, another very dangerous attack that is nullified by Auto Image or by Interceptor, the good boy. It looks like Fitz is going to take on a dragon. Not super happy with party levels. I saw his experience egg Atma weapon Cyan is like 46.
Wow.
But the rest of his party low 30s.
Yeah.
So is going to munch on a dragon, thinking along very similar lines to Gaahr.
Yeah, because if he's going to skip right to the statues, he's going to split his party up into 3. And since he's been only buffing up 3 characters, that means he basically has 1 good party member for each spot, along with some meat shields. So you're going to want your characters to be a little bit stronger just in case. Oh my goodness, another Grand Train.
Yikes. And not a lore user to be found.
So Gaahr did pick up a dragon horn as the high tier item reward for that dirt dragon. I don't think he picked up the dragoon boots. I think that was Fitz that picked them up in World of Ruin Thamasa. But if he did find them with those fixed dice or that aura lance, it might not be too late to turn one of your characters into a pogo buddy.
I love that jump command. Can be very powerful and can be very safe. Can't be hurt if you're not on screen. Fitz making very short work of that Storm Durgan. Nabbing a Genji glove. Be interesting to see if Fitz wants to double up on his 2 Atma weapons or if he's happy just keeping that Paladin shield on Cyan. Cyan obviously doing a lot of the legwork for Fitz's party.
Oh no, he's going full lightsaber here. Love to see it.
Excellent. Absolutely.
It's not something I usually do because I'd rather have a shield. I'd much rather have the Paladin shield for my Atma weapon user because then you're just doing maximum damage all the time. But this way you're getting 2 swings and French vanilla on Gaahr, some more delicious ice cream. This is Inferno at the Guardian spot.
Can be spooky. As you mentioned, another KT boss. Another boss you're very happy to have auto image for.
Yikes.
Though it does not block shrapnel.
No. Yeah, so I'm guessing Fitz is going to get in his airship, and he's going to be literally right behind Gaahr if he decides to go to the statues. And it looks like that's what he's doing here. So we got a nail biter on our hands, folks.
Absolutely. Approaching the 1 hour mark, just past 59 minutes. Gaahr is taking on the Guardian boss spot. Fitz is about to warp straight there. It's going to be a clash of strategies. because Fitz is going to try to do this all in one go. Going to try to spread the strength out over 3 different paths. Gaahr clearing a path with his full strength party right now, hoping to make the other 2 slightly easier. And it is really too close to call. This is a pretty hype race here in round 1 of the Coliseum II tournament.
Yeah, one interesting thing about Gaahr's strategy is these bosses that you defeat in here don't add to scaling. So he's getting experience on his entire party every time he clears out one of the bosses with this team. We've got a number 128 for Fitz on the left, so that's new information for us. And we've got a snail at the end of the middle path here for Gaahr.
Little Welk. Also, just again, want to call out Gaahr's Shadow, who must have been wearing that Odin Esper, getting a lot of levels with Magic Power +2, because it's doing a ton of damage with these Tier 3 elemental spells. And that is a snail down.
Dr. DC says Welk is the OG, the original gastropod. Well played. All right, nice. So that is going to be the 12th boss for Gaahr. So you see KT skip up on the screen. That means that he is going to hit a save point and warp out and toss 1 of his final party on one side and 2 of his final party on another side. We'll see if he decides to peek at either of these bosses before doing the warp, and it doesn't look like he's going to do that.
When we as viewers know, the 2 we've seen are fairly manageable. Number 128 shouldn't be much of a problem to a party of this strength. Welk, obviously, is Welk, the OG. Gaahr is actually going to do a bit of shopping before heading back into KT. Does have money for those Mega Elixirs.
Yep, so maybe both of our runners went here earlier and wrote it down. Yeah, so Fitz with that pair of Dragoon boots and that Aura Lance is going to send the double Atma weapon user and the Dragoon up the middle.
I mean, if you've got the gear, why not equip it? Why not get some use out of these party members you haven't really been using? We'll see how double Atma Cyan goes. Obviously, no elemental protections, so that's
breaking the damage
pretty
cap.
Decent swing, all right. Was that 13,000 damage or so?
Yeah. Well, he
did take a lot of those to get the job done.
Yeah, so he had the experience egg on for a lot, and you said he's what, level 46 before the dragon, so he's probably level 50 or so now.
And it shows, as we saw, it took a big hit from that shrapnel attack and is still swung for over 4,000. So that is Inferno down. And it'd be interesting to see what is in the 3rd path. What boss is in the, I believe that's the Goddess spot.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, Welk is not going to pose much of a challenge to double Atma weapon level 50 Cyan.
No.
For Fritz, at least, it's going to be all down to, thank you for validating your seed with the validation chest. It's going to be all down to who's that boss in the Goddess spot.
Yeah, unfortunately, we got to pour one out for the OG here. This might be a one-shot. Yeah, look at that. At full health. Dear Lord.
Yikes.
17,000 damage or so. That
Cyan's a monster.
Whew. All right, I take what I said back about the Genji glove. And it is Dullahan here.
Dullahan. What does that mean to you, Schwantz?
That means that we need to use... Ice 3 is going to heal him. We need to use Fire Magic against him. So that's going to be pretty easy for Gaahr. And thankfully for oneFreeFitz, his 2 other bosses on the sides are... This is not going to be a problem. And this is neck and neck here, Fantastodon. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. And barring some real meltdowns in the final battle, it's going to be great times for both of these runners.
The only problem I foresee right now with oneFreeFitz is he didn't find, I don't think, that Fire 3 spell. So I don't know what Celeste is going to be able to do against Dullahan. Hopefully, she could...
Fitz has Fire 3. He doesn't have Ice 3.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Then we're good. I thought it was the other way around. I got confuddled. My bad.
The one question would be, we know Fitz doesn't have Golem, and I don't think he has Fenrir either.
No, he is...
So there could be some Calmness issues
Yeah,
in
that
this
is...
final battle. We'll have to see.
Yeah, so you do get the auto image status at the start of every tier, so we'll have it at the start of tier 3, but Rest does like to use physical attacks at times to break that image status, so we'll see if that comes into play here. Gaahr getting past his last statue boss, I think maybe a turn or two before Fitz, and yep, that's the crack pow there as well, so... Get your predictions in the chat. Who do you think is going to take this? We got Gaahr and Fitz essentially at Kefka about the same time here. I've also been informed Gaahr has to defeat number 128 on the left side. Okay. Never mind. So Fitz does have the lead here. Although he's taking a bathroom break at the worst time.
Seem to have stepped away for the moment.
He's given it a fair fight. This is why you cast bio before the stream, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, hope it's not
number 128
issues or anything like that.
Yeah, number 128 also absorbs ice, so that's not going to work against him either. Number 128 absorbs ice, Inferno absorbs fire. So that's how you know the two of them, right? Inferno, it's obvious by the name. And number 128 is the opposite of Inferno. So. Doggo helping out in the fight as well. Thankfully, Stop wasn't cast on gaahr, otherwise this might be a reset.
Yeah, right, but here we can see the beams coming down on oneFreeFitz's screen. The first of our racers, the first of our gladiators into the final battle. And what a final battle it will be. Why don't we do our quick final battle checklist here. Fitz does have Fire 3 for Tier 1, does have Doom and Raiden to do some instant death attacks, does have Siren for magic, and to my knowledge does not have any form of calmness protection outside of auto image. So
yeah, because I think
it's going to be a pretty interesting battle as we see the beams go down on Gaahr's as well, and this is going to be down to the final battle. You could not ask for a better race than this.
Yeah, this is really awesome. He also didn't get the Life 3 Esper that I know Gaahr did, because I think that was Mog that he got that Life 3 spell off of that at the top of Narsh and Lone Wolf. So here comes the first of our instant deaths, and there we go. So Tier 1 is mostly physical attacks, so this will be great for auto image, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I didn't realize until I started running Shadow flag sets, which you mentioned earlier, is that the auto image does refresh between the tiers. So it is going to be extremely useful throughout this final battle.
Yeah, so it looks like he decided to bring Edgar in, which we saw him equip with Jump in that Aura Lance. Meanwhile, Gaahr decides, I think, to bring Gao into the fold for this final battle. And Gao was
Gaahr was throwing some levels on Gao throughout KT as he was doing that initial push. So yeah, both runners with a team of 4. Fitz already through.
Yeah, wow.
Tier 1, my goodness, blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Gaahr doesn't have Fire 3 on all of his characters, so this is going to take him a little while longer. Celeste is morphed. We'll see if he decides to do any permamorph trickery. You can do that if the morph timer runs out while you're in the transition between tiers, or if it runs out while you're either stopped or asleep on your turn. So I don't know if he's going to try for that, because it does take a little bit to set up, but it also means that his Celeste will do double damage for the rest of the battle. And here we are on Tier 1
if you can pull it off, it is extremely powerful. If you can get the stars to align and set up the permamorph, as we see Siren singing her hope song. I hope you're muted, Magic, is what she hopes. And that is, I believe, already 2 of the 4 enemies here in Tier 2 nullified.
Yeah.
I think he got that Doom off on tools.
Yes, he did. So even though Fitz had the advantage in Tier 1, it's going to flip now to Gaahr in Tier 2, because Tiger is weak to ice. So since Fitz does not have those ice spells, Gaahr might be able to catch up a little bit of time here on tier 2, because he will be able to use Ice 3 against Tiger, whereas oneFreeFitz has got to do some other shenanigans. But just the Atma weapon, dear goodness. It's like 15 or 16,000 a turn.
Crazy work. And I mean, we are really kind of splitting hairs here, trying to find any advantage either of these runners have. Of course, both of our runners have multiple Mega Elixirs, so Fitz is going to pull one of those out right off the bat. I think worth pointing out, I think Gaahr's Gao is probably a more useful fourth party member than Fitz's Edgar is. But again, this is kind of splitting hairs. You can use Edgar as a chemist and get along just fine. So it is really up in the air right now as to who's gonna pull ahead in this gladiatorial bout.
Yep, we did see the 10 hits, so that is part 3 of 4 down for Fitz here. And Magic will give him no problems because it can't actually attack. That is Tiger dead, at least for Gaahr, so he's got 2 of the 4 down. Now has to go up against Hit, but his Celeste is still morphed. So she's still doing double damage here, and he's using some weight tricking, so we'll see if we can get a permamorph maybe at the end of this tier. Although it might be a little tough, because Magic does have 40,000 HP. It does go pretty fast when Cyan's doing over 9k a swing, though. And that's the end of Magic on Fitz's screen. He's moving on to tier 3.
He is moving on up. There's the 10 hits for Gaahr. So I think you have to give the advantage to oneFreeFitz for the moment, at least. Obviously, coming out ahead, first one to tier 3. Gaahr still trying to take care of Magic. That speaking of Magic, the Magic Power +2 infused Shadow doing quad 9s with Fire 3.
Oof.
And I think it might come down to the always unpredictable Sleep and Lady fight here in tier 3 of the final battle.
Yeah, so here comes the death count. Here comes the death counter for Magic. So Gaahr is going to be moving up to tier 3, and Fitz, without having Golem or Fenrir, is going to be very dependent upon how this fight goes in terms of calmness protection. He does have Image on his entire party right now, but any physical attack has a 50% chance of breaking calmness. So see if he gets unlucky, as that's a miss, but the Image status is still applied to Celeste. So hopefully this shouldn't be a problem here.
Yeah, Fitz sort of is basically in a race against the clock here to down Sleep for losing the Image status, because doesn't have any other way to protect against calmness. We'll see how damaging these Meteos are, keeping up all the party. There's the calmness. Image is up, and that is a double whiff from Sleep, and oneFreeFitz is the first one ascending up to the final tier of the final battle, ascending all of Kefka's tower. Everyone bet against him, except oneFreeFitz. He said, "I'm betting on myself."
That's right.
In the Coliseum II pick'em, he said, "Put my last dollar on me," and he is up in the clouds, the first one taking on the mad clown, the fallen angel, the man who destroyed the world, Kefka.
Yeah, he does have 1 Mega Elixir in the hole as well, so he will be prepared for the Fallen 1 attack. And we'll see just how much damage he pumps out. With Cyan doing almost 18k a turn at full health. He's not at full health right now, obviously. But Kefka isn't going to be too long for this world, especially with Celeste and being morphed. So, as you said, Edgar the Chemist, throwing out the Mega Elixirs, and here we go.
Has 2 Mega Elixirs. This is the first, so has a backup just in case. And yeah, can't wait to see this uber buffed Cyan, who's been munching on experience eggs. Yikes! That's what 17,500 damage right there.
Yeah.
Gaahr taking a train attack, still trying to finish off Sleep. Edgar goes down, but he did his job, kept the party healed. Looks like Fitz is gonna.
He's gonna wait for
safe here
Gaahr
at the end. Yeah, wait for the Gaahr segue to get the final damage in, and should not take long.
There it is.
Crack pow!
All
GG!
right.
And
Woo!
that is oneFreeFitz taking it over I Am Gaahr with a very impressive showing, a dominant party in this final battle. I mean, that was an extremely fast final battle fight and a fantastic time of, what is that, 114...
1:14:26 is the official time.
1:14:26.
That is
huge.
That's crazy. Awesome job there by oneFreeFitz.
That is a monster time. A very, very clean race. To be honest, clean race from both runners. Gaahr is also going to finish with a fantastic time as he starts the Kefka fight right now. But
yeah, under 120. I'm sorry. I was going to say under 120 is ridiculous, and it looks like we probably are going to get that in both cases here.
Absolutely. I mean, this is our first restreamed match of the Coliseum II tournament, and if they're all going to be like this, woo! I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I love this. This is incredible. So exclamation Coliseum 2, that is the link to the bracket and the rules. So even though oneFreeFitz moves on, Gaahr is not out of the tournament. This is a double elimination tournament, so he will be sent to the lower bracket of the Coliseum. And oneFreeFitz moves on to fight the winner of the Kyrgyz versus Poot Scooty battle. And that will take place when? Wednesday at 10 o'clock Eastern time. So we may or may not be able to restream that match for you, so stay tuned to this channel, of course.
Absolutely. As Gaahr is chewing through final Kefka, does have that very strong Shadow pulling out quad 9s on the Fire 3, but we do have our winner of this Coliseum 2 tournament race. It is oneFreeFitz. Fitz, GG. Fantastic race. How you feeling?
Wow, incredible. Went very fast.
Zoomy.
And yeah, I kind of had a plan, at least in the beginning, and I just kind of stuck with kind of my style of how I like to play, and it worked out for me, I think, in the end.
An extremely strong time. How does this time compare to some of your practice runs? Have you been practicing this flag set?
Oh, this is certainly a PB. I think my previous
congrats.
fastest was like a 121 in practice. I had some tough practices. Shadow can be nice or tough depending on how some things go.
Well, how did this one feel? Let me just pause for 1 second as we do see I Am Gaahr finishing up, taking down Kefka, also with a very strong party and an extremely impressive time, 1:17:28. All of us who are worried about ending up in the loser's bracket should keep an eye on Gaahr, because that is a fantastic time and a fantastic race. But back to our race winner, Fitz. Yeah, tell us more about this seed. And you said you had a strategy. What was that?
With having Y remove on kind of opens things up from like the beginning, and so I wanted to have a good opening route, and I just watched a couple of Gaar's practices on this flag set, and I was like, that looks good. So I like took some notes, and I was like, okay, because what in particular what I noticed was he was like starting in Narsh, but he was not hitting up the treasure room because he was coming back later, and so it was like do some shopping in Narsh. I think I added in checking out returners, and then doing the like South Figaro double dip, heading back to Narsh to get the like lock check with Y remove, picking up the treasure room, and then since I was already in World of Ruin, it was like did my grind fight, did my Coliseum, let's do a shadow check. But my plan is always go to Floating Continent early if I at all feel capable, and then I like to chain that into with Y remove the Magitech factory, because that just gives me like 8 bosses, and a ton of progression. And then I hope I get some more characters and sprint around to like fast checks, and that worked out. So yeah, in practice I was like 121. Where can I go faster? And really like studying Gaahr's opening. He goes so fast in the beginning. I knew I was going to have to beat like a 115, I think, to have a chance to go on. So all of it came together and it worked. And even at the end, I was just so nervous going up the final fight because I was like, Gaahr's probably right behind me. And he was.
Yep, that is definitely true. He was definitely nipping at your heels. So
it was. I encourage you to watch the VOD. It was an incredible race.
Yeah,
you guys were neck and neck for a long time.
So you were absolutely correct. Gaahr did a bit less looting than you did. He was faster on that. However, Gaahr did not find the one item that I think set the race apart, was the fire knuckle that you turned into an experience egg in the Coliseum.
Oh yeah, that was so clutch. The Coliseum is a crapshoot, but it can really swing things early on, and I was lucky to not get like a terrible fight that I like couldn't win. That's been happening a lot in practice, or like a slog. Grabbing that, I picked up an ammo weapon, and then I found another one somewhere.
Yeah, the weapon shot.
So I think my MVP move was like throwing that egg on Cyan early, planning on him to use the ammo weapon, and then I found a Genji glove late. Maybe it was off the Opera House Dragon.
Correct. Yes.
It was. Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, crazy Cyan power activated. Because I never found an offering. I went digging.
Yep.
In the crates. But that was doing so much damage. And I think that had I not gotten that and took the time to like equip it, Gaahr probably would have passed me on the final fight. Because having 20k damage a turn is just very great.
Yeah, so we were debating in the booth whether to use the Genji glove with the 2 Atmas or the Atma with the Paladin shield, because you're always going to be doing a maximum damage swing. But you certainly shut up my position of, yeah, take the Paladin shield every time, when I was like, wow, look at these numbers. That's a lot of damage, Phil Swift. You made me a believer, Fitz.
I thought about it too. Like, I really was like, okay, like it's safer and he'll be pretty much at full HP always. But the other thing that I did that I think helped with me going really confidently fast at the end was I stopped in Albrook World of Ruin with my like 200,000 gold or whatever. And there was mega elixirs and I got like 4 of them.
Yep.
So I wasn't really super worried about keeping Cyan, because my plan was kind of like, okay, Edgar, if anyone gets hurt, you just throw in a mega elixir immediately. And it worked out pretty nice.
Yep, so you will be going on to face the winner of Poot Scooty versus Kirksey in the next round. So you'll be doing that sometime next week, but you also have a very fun event coming up relatively soon. You want to talk to us about that a little bit?
Oh yeah, thanks for, I know I said we should promote this, but yeah, so let me look at
it's
our
on
events
Sunday,
here.
I believe. Right?
Yeah, I should probably practice a little bit for that. Huh? So the Final Fantasy Randomizer Rando Winter 2022 is going on. It's really a showcase, like hosted by the FF, like one rando community, but it's of like all, I would say, JRPG randomizers of that era. They're pretty generous with like what people can submit. It's raising money for, I believe it's the South Carolina Firefighters Burn Children's Fund. And on that Sunday morning at 4 a.m. is when I'll be running Worlds Collide as part of the like relay race we have going on. So it's going to be a bunch of different Final Fantasy randos. Chrono Trigger is in there as well. Just running them back to back to back on like the overnight block. kind of testing out an idea of maybe doing a larger team relay race in like a future event.
Awesome. So yeah, that is Sunday, December 11th, I think at 4 a.m. Eastern, right? Is the time for that?
Yep. So West Coast, stay up. East Coast, I guess also, so I probably will just stay up.
I'm setting my alarm. It's the day before my birthday, so I could do what I want. I'll have the day off at work probably. So
treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Yep. Fantastodon, any other questions we've got for Fitz here?
No, I think we kind of covered it all. A fantastic race, great to watch. GG's on the performance, and excited to see how your Coliseum experience goes from here, because you have thrown down a gauntlet with this very, very impressive time here in round 1.
Yeah, I was real nervous coming in. Gaahr is very, very good and consistently very good, and I'm still pretty swingy in my performances sometimes, so I think a little bit of practice, but also just thinking about what's nice about this flag set is you at least know one of your starting characters, so it makes planning and opening a little bit less on the fly, and just like, I don't know, like I said, I learned a ton of just like not only watching some of Gaar's like recent runs, but just like generally. So it sounds strange, but I want to give them a lot of credit. They taught me a lot about how to go fast, and today I was able to ironically put it all together in a really great run. I will say too, I really had to use the restroom after that third statue, and I decided to go and run for it. And I was worried that I was like, man, if I lose this by like 10 seconds, because I went to the bathroom, like, I will be mad at myself for a while, but I was glad.
You were just making it extra close. We appreciate that here in the booth.
It was just like, oh, I don't think I can make it all the way up. Like, I drank too much water before the race, and my like nervous getting ready, and so.
So there you have it, folks.
But maybe not too much.
Yeah, stay hydrated, but not too hydrated. Always have a water bottle handy so you could know. Don't do that. But yeah, awesome job, Fitz. Again, congratulations on your victory, and we'll see you in round 2 of the Upper Coliseum.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the Restream team for showcasing us here.
Yeah, no problem. That was incredible. Glad to be a part of it. Thanks.
Great stuff. And should we try to bring in our other gladiator this evening, Gaahr? Are you there with us?
Hey.
Well, you lost the race, but you had a fantastic time. How did that seed feel for you?
God, I was feeling really good about that seed, and that kind of scared me, because if I'm feeling good, I know that Fitz has got to be feeling good. So, yeah, I mean, I have no complaints. The offense was there. I did have a little bit of a slow early game, but otherwise, yeah, no, that was a terrific race, and congrats to Fitz for whooping me and sending me to the losers bracket.
Well, he said in his interview that he learned by watching you. So he was studying all your moves, all your proclivities, and trying to plan a strategy against you. So that's a compliment in a way.
Hey, yeah, I'll take it. That's very humbling, honestly. But yeah, no, Fitz is a great racer. I think a lot of people sleep on him. So stop doing that, everybody.
Yeah, that's one of the great things that I love about a 1v1 Coliseum race is you can exploit tendencies or things that your opponent will do to try and carve out some time here and there, right? And that's exactly what Fitz did coming into this. What was your particular strategy for this Shadows Ninja Star flag set with things like split XP and you can't sell stuff at shops and you have Y remove and no free progression.
Yeah, so because you can't sell anything, to me it really kind of disincentivizes looting. You really want to do fixed encounters or even some random encounters because the gold multiplier is 10. And I did Floating Continent a little later in the seed, and I was getting about 20,000 gold per kill, and that's the power of a huge gold multiplier. So my strat is basically in the early game, I find skeins and I find earrings, and then I do basically nothing else. Let's just start doing checks. I might do a little bit more after that, and this seed is one of the ones where I probably should have done a little bit more, trying to find some elemental protection or something. But otherwise, skeins will carry you through basically the entire game. So my strat is find skeins, find earrings, then go.
Yeah,
well, Fitz did one have an advantage over you. I think it was in the returner's hideout. Were the fire knuckles? But it was something that Fitz found that you did not, and you could bet fire knuckles at the Coliseum for experience eggs. So Fitz had a level 50 character with Atma weapons by the end there.
Yeah, eggs are probably the best item in the game. So anytime you can get eggs, it's a good time. And yeah, I definitely did not.
Yeah, that's.
But I mean, you had a very strong time regardless. I'm curious, what do you think are the biggest changes you have to make to your approach and your strategy going to Shadow's flag set from, Terra or a Ultros League style flag set?
It's mostly just the lack of looting again. So normally in a lot of my seeds, I'll hit up South Figaro, first thing, get some early game progression or hope to get some early game progression, and then probably extend that looting as well to, maybe World of Balance Narsh or Returner's Cave. So when you have throw, that kind of changes the equation, or when you're gonna have throw, it changes the equation. So it becomes at that point, just get enough offense to where you can go. And part of it in the later game is that you hope for decent dragon drops. Because again, with throw, dragons are a little bit easier than they otherwise might be, even with 2.5 scaling. So since dragons drop 2 high tier items, it's normally a pretty decent way to gear up your characters.
Yeah, so that is a great segue into one of the things I wanted to ask about. Was you decided to take a couple of dragons early on in the race, which does increase your scaling by a bit. So curious as to your thoughts behind it being just for the high tier item, or are you also looking to inflate your experience and learn some spells as well, in spite of the increased scaling of your enemies?
Yeah, it's basically all of the above. Dragons are a treasure trove of EXP and magic points. So especially when you've got espers that have great spells like Fire and Ice 3, you want to learn those as quickly as possible. So that's basically my whole thought process is, this can take me through the rest of the game. Let me do the things that will guarantee that I get these other things that will carry me the rest of the game.
And the only other thing I had to point out was you unluckily got frozen a bunch of times, both the Doom fight and then back to the Ice Dragon fight. We know that, Shadow is a cold-blooded killer, but we didn't realize how cold it was until he was the only one not being frozen. Were you glad it was him that was the non-recipient of the freeze to sort of take out those bosses as you saw fit?
Oh yeah, Shadow was basically the entirety of my offense for a good chunk of the game. So anytime he gets to slit that dragon's throat for a nickel or whatever, without me getting frozen, yeah, I like it. Unfortunately, yeah, did have a little bit of bad luck with the freezes, but you'd best be frozen, so whatever.
Yep. The only other question I think I had, no, I completely lost it. Fantastodon, you got anything else for Gar here?
No, I think you covered it. I think Gar, you had a great race, and you still have plenty to fight for in the lower brackets. And obviously, oneFreeFitz gave you all the credit for improving him as a runner. So you've obviously got a lot of skill on display, and look forward to seeing how the rest of your Coliseum experience goes. We'll definitely be watching.
Thank you. But I think that oneFreeFitz gives himself too little credit. Again, he's a phenomenal racer, uh, with or without my input. So everyone should go and follow him and follow the Restream team too. This was kind of impromptu. So thanks again to both Schwantz and Fantastodon for putting this up last minute. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we can't have the races without the two of you guys volunteering. So while Gar is still lurking, thank you. Not Gar. While Fitz is still lurking, thank you, Fitz, for allowing us to broadcast you. And same thing with you, Gar. Thanks for allowing us to rebroadcast you in front of everybody. And this was an amazing race. So give yourselves pats on the back there, Barry Horowitz. You did great. So thanks again.
Yeah, much appreciated, and yeah, fantastic race, and whew, gotta go fast.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thanks again.
Now the rest of the races have to live up to this one. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for setting the bar real high for us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just don't feed me to the lions quite yet. I'm not ready.
Well, we did feed a lot of Ultroses this seed. We saw every single one of them. Is that right, Fantastodon?
I love it when we collect the whole set.
So anything else? I'm sorry, I was going to say anything else, Fantastodon, before we let everybody go here?
No, I think we've covered it all. I think it was a fantastic race. Two great runners. Obviously, the level of competition in the Coliseum II tournament is going to be at the highest level. No one is safe. Everyone really has to bring their A game. I remember, in the long ago days of Coliseum 1, you get a time of 125, 126. You're feeling like an all-star. Guess that's not going to cut it anymore. So it's going to be exciting to see some of these races with very talented runners, and it's anyone's Coliseum, and it's going to be a lot of fun watching this over the next few weeks.
Yeah, well said, and thank you, Fantastodon, for joining me in the commentary booth. Couldn't do this without you. I might have struggled a bit because my voice is on the go here from being a little sick. So thank you so much for jumping in and helping me out. Really appreciate it.
Happy to do it. Great race, great stream.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to send everybody to W.R. Jones's stream. He is doing Shadows Ninja Star right now. I didn't see his name in the Coliseum tournament. I didn't see him in the brackets anywhere, so I don't think he is in the tournament proper, but he is still running a Ninja Star flag set. So if you're coming from our stream, then you kind of know what you're in for already. So go say hi and give him a follow. We do streams on Speed Gaming every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, as well as here on this channel, Thursday, 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to try to host some more Coliseum matches. We have sort of a schedule that I've put together going around. So Drulith and Nobody War will be doing their Coliseum match for the Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern slot. So hopefully we get that rebroadcast to everybody. And yeah, hope everybody enjoyed themselves and have fun. For Fantastodon, I've been Schwantz27, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.